Hey, kids, it's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day, just past high noon. May I be specific? It's 12:05, thanks to this new handy-dandy clock we have in the friendly confines of the studios here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, it's amazing how different it feels. Although, it's a digital clock just like the other one, but it's streamlined, it's convenient, it's smaller. It says 12:05 and 40 seconds right now. It's the little things in life that we ought to focus on, friends, because the little things make a life worth living. I hope that I'm one of those little things for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, you know how you make that happen?
Ask for it.
You ask for it.
Mm-hmm. Bell K taking full credit, Headless Bell taking full credit for the streamlined clock that we now have in studio, and rightly so. The other one was clunky, it was bulky, nobody knew exactly where to put it.
Wouldn't hold time.
Would not hold time. This
digital clock that won't hold time.
Tell me what time you got in there on the official master U.S. Naval Observatory master clock.
12:06, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, we're 1 second ahead.
Okay.
1 second ahead. That's pretty close, though. For time-setting purposes. One way or the other, we've got a lot of time today, 180 minutes. That's what they give us. That's our allotment. And we'll try to fill every moment of it with entertainment, with fun and frivolity, with news and information that you can use to get out and about and do so in an informed fashion. It is a holiday today. It is President's Day. I've kind of lost which president. It was Washington originally, and then it was Washington and Lincoln, and now we just kind of splat the presidents of the United States of America. Some better than others. Some better than others. More on that coming up in just a couple of minutes as we diagnose what academic experts say about the rankings of the presidents of the United States of America. That's right. Academics have weighed in, friends, and they would like to explain to you that all Republicans are bad, at least in the modern era, and all Democrats are good, despite the fact that you experience these things with your own eyeballs. And you see in real time how poor of a president Joe Biden is. But not a full term into his presidency, Joe Biden is a sight better than a lot of these Republicans that we like to run around talking about, to include Ronald Wilson Reagan. More on that coming up. So happy President's Day. Hope it's a good one for you and yours. Hope some of you have the day off. It's one of those, it's a weird holiday. I have to admit. I've never in my radio career taken or even thought about taking President's Day off. I just haven't.
It's a holiday for statists.
Right? What would we do? What would we do?
We stay home and we sit on the couch and we contemplate the love affair that we have with this thing called government.
Exactly. That's where I was going to. Or we could, like I announced during the Chris Hand Show during our crossover, are you going to the parade this afternoon?
No.
You're not?
No.
I'm a little surprised. I thought you'd be into it. It's the for those that don't know, there a little bit later on this afternoon, there will be the Joe Biden President's Day Nashville Parade. It's going to start in Goodlettsville. It's going to go up through Gallatin. Then it's going to circle back around to Ashland City. It's going to cut down to Franklin through Leaper's Fork. It's going to meander around Leaper's Fork for a little while, mumbling and bumbling along its way. It's going to stumble its way through 1212 South, going to cut over to Mount Juliet, try to figure out what's going on over there, see if Charlie Daniels is around. Somebody's going to tell the parade that Charlie Daniels has been dead for a number of years. They're going to cut back over through Old Hickory. They're going to try to find Andrew Jackson, see if he wants to talk to them. Somebody's going to tell them that Andrew Jackson's been dead for a couple of years, and then back down to east of Nashville, where everyone will party with beer and whatnot. What type of beer does Joe like? I forgot what did he? Goose River Gooseneck. Oh, that's good stuff. Love that. Anyway, there's the Joe Biden President's Day Nashville Parade for you, meandering, stumbling and bumbling its way through.
Where am I? What's going to happen to me?
Through Music City. Speaking of stumbling and bumbling our way, we stumbled and bumbled our way over the weekend onto a story that I want to discuss first on the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast today. So, yes, I'm going to get into some of the aftermath of what happened late last week. Never you fear. We'll take your telephone calls all afternoon long. 615-737-9986. That is our telephone line, 615-737-9986. The Members Nutrition Super Talk text line is up and running at 615-737-9986. Same number. You can either dial it up and talk to us live and in person, and I always love turning a monologue into a dialogue, or you can communicate via the Members Nutrition Super Text line. You're invited to do that as well. You can also find us on any internet streaming platform of your choosing. You're invited to be a part of that. Let me just give you the rundown here, the pleasantries. So you got those phone numbers and that Super Text line, Members Nutrition Super Text line. Then you have our various applications where you can take us wherever you go. You want to take Bell K into the shower? Have at it. You can take him into the shower. I just hope that you have a waterproof speaker. If you would like to take us into the grocery store with you and put in your earbuds and listen as you shop and look at the exorbitant prices, thank you, inflation, thanks to Joe Biden, you may do that. You can take us wherever you travel. If you want to ask someone to marry you in Love Circle and you decide you want to take us on that adventure, have at it. By downloading the application on the SuperTalk app, go to SuperTalk 99.7 WGN.
Did he do that?
What? Take us with him?
Yeah.
No, he declined my offer. I told him that I would come and act as muscle, and he declined. He said, no, thank you.
You made the offer.
I mean, I made the offer. I mean, it's a free country, I suppose, given that he asked Hannah to marry him in a public space. I could have shown up, but I felt like that might have been encroaching on his territory just a little bit. I was disappointed, and I'm going to get into this with him after he has his lunch and comes back to do the news. I'm going to lash McMurray with a wet noodle a little bit because he left the old people high and dry Saturday night, and I don't appreciate it.
How so?
Well, we had discussed, E and I were downtown Saturday night at the Ryman Auditorium, more on that coming up, and had a great evening. Watched Clint Black at the Ryman celebrate his 35th anniversary of the fabulous album Killin' Time. Did the entire album in its entirety and then did a lot of his greatest hits, and what a great show it was. Anyway, so we had discussed, Mac and I, the possibility of getting together and allowing E and I to buy Mac and Hannah drinks to celebrate their engagement. And I fully expected that none of that was going to happen. And I'm not upset that it didn't happen. I'm a little upset that I did not get a drunk text from him telling me that it was not going to happen. Right? So
you're upset that on the day he gets engaged and has I'm not upset. An engagement party with his brand new fiancée, that his thoughts did not turn to you.
Yeah, kind of. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit. That's about right. I wouldn't say that I'm upset. More like furious. It's more I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Congratulations to Mac Morey. More with Mac coming up later on. No, he originally, and I knew it was not going to happen, he goes, oh, yeah, we're having this party, and we'll probably go out after for drinks, and I'll text me, and we'll get together, and, oh, I'd love that. And in my head, I'm thinking there's 0.00001% chance that this happens. And it did not happen. So there you go. Speaking of people that we know and love and the show, Jack Johnson will be with us, Senator Jack Johnson, and he's the Senate Majority Leader, will be stopping by at 1 o'clock to talk about some of the things that went down over the weekend and to talk about what we can expect out of the General Assembly in the coming weeks and months before they say goodbye in an official capacity and go off to campaign during an election year. That's coming up in the 1 o'clock hour on the Matt Murphy Show. The fight back on the quote-unquote ageism argument against Joe Biden has now started, which makes me wonder if the Democrats are not actually going to put all of their eggs in this octogenarian basket that is the bumbling, stumbling, mumbling Joe Biden. I'll tell you, for the first time, Mr. President, over the weekend, I thought, are they actually going to try to make this work? I think they can because of the presence of Donald Trump on the other side, on the other ticket. Are they actually going to? I mean, I have a difficult time, and it is a serious question, Mr. President. I have a difficult time believing that the Democrats are going to go all in on you, considering your unpopularity, considering your age and infirmity, and considering the fact that they can't hide it. They can't cover it up. All they can do is attack people that point out the obvious. Well, I will keep going, Mr. President, because it needs to be said. You are not ready for prime time. You're not ready for your first term as president, much less your second term as president, and nobody believes that you're going to be the nominee, except I admit, I've been saying this since last April, and over the weekend, I'm watching the number of articles and the number of individuals coming out and suggesting that all of this is ageism and it's ridiculous and Joe Biden's just fine and he's all well and good. And they can say that all they want. We've got eyeballs, we've got ears, and we can see and we can hear. But we'll discuss that at some point during the proceedings today. And then there is what went down Saturday morning. If you've not heard, and I can't imagine that you've not heard, a group of individuals descended upon Nashville, Tennessee, downtown area Saturday morning. They walked around the downtown area to include walking around the Tennessee State Capitol, to include walking about the grounds of the Legislative Plaza, wearing black pants, red shirts, black masks, black gloves, and in some cases toting Nazi flags.
Actually, not to pick the nit, but this was odd to me because they weren't Nazi flags. They were black flags with white swastikas on them.
Yeah, I mean, most people
to me was very, very odd. It was almost like, why are you messing with the design? What's the point of that?
I don't know.
That was weird. Didn't it seem weird to you?
I've never seen flags of that design before. I didn't think of it quite that way, but I get what you're saying. Like, why not just go with the red and the swastika? Right. Why are you doing the black with the white swastika? Are you trying to change it up for some reason? Maybe they got a discount online. I don't know. I had not thought about that, but that is interesting. Maybe this design of the flag, Bell, with the swastika and the white and the black better matches their Antifa flags. You know, because you want to match when you're in the garage. So there's a lot to unpack about this, but let's start here so people can hear me loudly and clearly. There is no I want to say this the right way. Anyone that engages in groupthink, that believes in the inherent genetic superiority of one group of people over another group of people, these are what Matt Murphy describes as disgusting pieces of slime that do not believe in individual freedoms and liberties, because if they did believe in individual freedoms and liberties, they would recognize that the individual supersedes the group and that individuals are just that, individually purposed by God and designed by God as said same. Anyone that promotes group bigotry or group prejudice based on the idea that one group is inferior to another group, or really for most any reason that I can think of, those individuals are equally disgusting and pieces of filth. The Nazi ideology has been destroyed as a filthy, disgusting, evil ideology. And it should be condemned. And it has been roundly, soundly, by every single person that I've spoken with or that I've seen comment on what went down Saturday morning. There is no one that has accepted or approved of any of this that went down Saturday, which I think is the point. And I certainly know of at least 3 and potentially more political figures that have used this as an opportunity to try to take advantage of a situation from a political perspective. And I'm going to set that aside for a moment, and I'm going to speak to that in a moment. I don't know, nor do you know. Now, we have some inkling as to who these people are, but none of us know who these people are because on purpose and intentionally, they concealed themselves, which leads to a lot of questions. Who are they? Are they actually who they say they are? They look like cosplay actors. It looks ridiculous. They could not look more absurdly clown showish, ridiculous if they put on the Klan robes, complete with the hoods, and march down Main Street in that garb. You look like a bunch of clowns. And maybe that's the point. If you don't know, let me give you the details, and then we'll back up and break it down and analyze it. At some point Saturday morning, early afternoon, it was around lunchtime. So I guess it really technically wasn't even morning. So at some point on Saturday, this group of roughly 24 individuals came into town. And I've seen video of either them coming into town or exiting town in the back of a U-Haul trailer. So they rented this group, apparently. I don't know this, but we can make certain assumptions. Apparently, rented a U-Haul, got into their little costumes in the U-Haul with their black pants and their black shoes and their red shirts and their black hoods and their caps in some cases. A couple of them had snazzy little black outfits on, like coat and tie. There were a couple of guys that were unmasked at the front of the group. Don't know who they are. Anyway, they got into their costumes, and they got into their U-Haul, and they got themselves downtown, and they unloaded the U-Haul, and they came out with the swastikas and the Nazism and the nonsense and the vile, putrid speech. And they marched about, and they made spectacles of themselves. And one would assume, because we heard nothing else from them, they left. And now there's a lot of questions about who this group is and who they are not and where they're from and what their purpose was. I approached this as I try to approach everything that I don't have any information about. I don't assume anything. I do not assume anything. I try to gather facts as best I possibly can and then report those facts. And subsequently, I'm going to offer my healthy opinion on these matters. I've already given you my healthy opinion on Nazism, or more broadly, racism and bigotry. Any attempt to subjugate a group of people based on groupthink is wrong. I'm a fierce individualist. You know, I don't belong to any clubs. No clubs that would have me as a member, certainly, but no clubs whatsoever. It is too convenient for me that all of this happened in a bubble, and the first individuals that were aware of it were Democrats. That is interesting. I'll just say that. So over the weekend, I did my best to try to figure out who this group was and what sort of advertising they did of their event, because one would presume that if an organized group was coming into the city for the purpose to draw attention to their cause, whatever that cause might be, however evil that cause might be, if you want to draw attention to said cause, you're going to do some level of social media advertising of what you plan on doing. Does that make sense to anyone? Well, that didn't apparently happen here. The group is reportedly a part of the Blood Tribe neo-Nazi group. We'll talk about that group in just a moment. We'll take your calls on all of this, and we'll tell you the first to report the events happening in downtown Nashville coming up in just a moment. It's 12:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee and covering all of the Southeast and really beyond. Since Brink started his company several years ago, he has grown and grown and grown by leaps and bounds because more and more people recognize the need to make sure that the people in your group are trained. And when I say it that way, it's intentional because they deal with groups of individuals that gather together as a place of business, groups of people that gather together for school, groups of people that gather together for church. Anywhere that people gather at an event space or whatever, they can help you with Defend Systems. They are there to give you site surveys and site analysis. They're there to train up your people in the unlikely event that violence happens in the workplace and otherwise. They're going to assist you in making sure that you are fully trained to know what to do in that event. The chances of something negative happening in your workspace or in your church or in your school are very, very small, but they're not zero, which is why that you need to call Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems. DefendSystems.com is the website. That's DefendSystems.com, or give them a call today at 236-6484, 236-6484 for Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So let's run down the basics of what we found out or what we know about what happened early Saturday afternoon in downtown Nashville. Before I do, I remind you that this is the Matt Murphy Show. It's 1229 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I failed to mention, as noted by Bel K and others on the Super Text line, the Members Nutrition Super Text line. I failed to note that it is episode 514 of today's proceedings. We can be found on Super Talk TV. If you're a masochist and want to look at what my face looks like for 3 hours, come on. I'm right here. Super Talk TV is up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and today's episode, 514, is entitled.
I try to keep them relative to the show, but this has been bugging me all weekend, so I had to put it out there as a question for the audience. If your flight's departing, Matt Murphy Show, if your flight's departing, is it still called a terminal?
George Carlin had a nice bit about calling it a terminal.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did we get any resolution to this question? Do I need to go look this up?
Well, I just remember that a part of that bit, he does a complete thing about the announcements on airplanes and how ridiculous they are. And, in the event of a loss of cabin pressure. I just remember a couple of things about that bit. And for those who have seen it, you'll know immediately that if in the event of a loss of cabin pressure, the plane's crashing, you find the need to utilize your oxygen mask, please apply your mask before applying a mask to those who are younger or need assistance. And he said, well, there's a little piece of information that I don't need to know. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. If the plane's going down at 580 miles an hour from 30,000 feet, it's time for little Sally Joe next to me to learn a bit of self-reliance when it comes to that oxygen mask. It's very funny. Matt writes in, and I'm going to answer this question coming up. Why is every host on the station playing into this idea that we don't know who they are? This might have been a Democrat trick. I sincerely can't understand because the information for who these guys are is readily available. They have a history. And just like other Nazi groups, they go on national tours. There was one 7 or 8 years ago in Chattanooga when I lived there. We know who this group was, and we know who the leader is, so why are we playing the we just don't know game? Matt, I would invite you to call the radio show. I know your number. I could call you if you wanted me to, but you should call us, and I will give you carte blanche to expose these individuals. One of the reasons that I choose not to expose the Blood Tribe, and I'm about to get into who the Blood Tribe are, by the way, so you jumped the gun just a little bit. But one of the reasons that I hesitate to bring up the Blood Tribe is because I believe that this is a minuscule portion of a minuscule portion of a minuscule portion of a minuscule portion of the American population. And to give them undue airtime is to do or to accomplish what they want to accomplish. At the same time, I think it's important to expose these people for the absolute clowns that they are. These are a bunch of circus clowns, and they need to be treated as such. They are cosplayers. They do not engage in the American process. They do not engage in America as I understand it. They choose to act like the worst type of human beings that they could possibly imagine in their own heads for their own purposes. I have no idea what's inside of their hearts. I know their actions speak louder than their words, and their actions are disgusting and repugnant. Is that good enough for you, Matt? I can go further. I started off my show condemning it, and will always condemn it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't questions about how all of this went down and what its purpose was. And we'll continue to ask those questions on this show as well. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN, it's 1233. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for the world-famous Glock store, where still in the month of February you can get the incredible deal over at the Shoot 270 side of things, and we'll tell you about that in just a moment. But first, when you go, have you been? If you've not been, what have you been waiting on? I mean, we've already told you the incredible opportunity that you have to buy for less at the world-famous Glock store. I've mentioned that they manufacture most of the parts that they sell, and these are accessories and different types of parts, performance parts that you can put on your Glock or your other handgun or long gun. Most all of them are manufactured. I won't say all, but most all of them are manufactured right on site, which it means it's going to cost you less money for those performance parts as well. Plus, they have gunsmiths right on site, and they can install these parts as you wait, as you browse the retail area at the world-famous Glock store. How about that? You can look for some of those concealed carry underpants that I talk about so much while you wait. And then there's, of course, the shooting rooms. No lanes, shooting rooms at the world-famous Glock store. Man, oh man, what a great addition and what a great idea coming from Lindy McGill and the gang at the world-famous Glock store. And right now, during the month of February, you can buy two, get one free. In other words, if you reserve a shooting room with a trainer for two, you'll get that couple's shoot for the price of one. That is an extra Valentine's Day gift from them to you from the world-famous Glock store. So go to glockstore.com or shoot270.com for more information and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only world-famous Glock store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1238. Getting to your calls momentarily as we just get this thing underway. We're here till 3 o'clock on the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day. We call it Murphy Show. Thank you for being around. 615-737-9986 on the talk lines. You can also text us on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-WWTN. So we believe that this group of clown show cosplayers are a neo-Nazi group called Blood Tribe. It is believed that one of the individuals involved in this group is a man by the name of Kent McClellan, a.k.a. Boneface. I'm going to refer to him as Bonehead as opposed to Boneface. So
is he the ginger?
The
bald ginger?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Here's the thing. Liberals love this because liberals believe that this gives, and this is the deal, right? Nobody knows the impetus behind which all of this happens as of yet. We'll find out, I presume. Let me give you the lowdown as I understand it. Everyone wants to believe that they know specifically why all of this happened. For the political left, they are immediately jumping on this and using it for their own purposes. Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, Afton Ben. By the way, you have Afton's number?
I do.
Give Afton a call and see if she'd be willing to come on with us to explain. I just want to know the nature of why she was down at her office Saturday morning.
Okay.
Afton Ben was the first sitting representative that I know of that put any of this out on social media. She put it out just before the Justin Jones video came out, in which she said, my people, my staff are monitoring the situation at the Capitol regarding neo-Nazis, and we'll let you know. And there was a photograph of neo-Nazis. I'm not here to attack her. I just want to know how she knew about it.
Okay.
Or who found out about it. Similarly, Justin Jones found out about it. Now, there was no real advertising pre-event. One would suppose that these individuals believe that they'll get plenty of publicity post-event, and it is true. It is true. I expect that you would have a hard time filling Nissan Stadium with these types of people from all across America. Meaning, if we take what these people are saying at face value, that they believe in this stupidity of, white power and, all this garbage. If you take the nonsense that they spew at face value, and I don't necessarily, I do not believe that you could fill Nissan Stadium with the number of genuine white supremacists that we have in the United States of America. And so most of us recognize that this is not, while it is a problem anywhere that it exists, it does not in any way represent Republicans. It does not represent conservatives. It does not represent individuals that believe in the Constitution of the United States. It does not represent Donald Trump or Donald Trump supporters. And it does not represent the leadership that exists in the General Assembly or in the governor's office in the state of Tennessee. But immediately, the Justin Jones, Afton Ben, Justin Pearson crowd are suggesting that this is what you get because you have Republicans in the state of Tennessee. Justin Jones, this is exactly what my Republican colleagues' hate speech is fostering and inviting. If Justin Jones had the cojones, he would come on the show and explain to me what he means by that. What hate speech is he discussing? He has been repeatedly invited on my radio show, and he's repeatedly declined. And I'll set up any parameters and any rules he wants. He can bring as many people as he wants. I'm not afraid of having a discussion with a socialist or a Marxist or any est for that matter. So no one knows the true motivations of the individuals involved except those individuals. Now, all we can do is base what we know on their actions, and their actions are disgusting and gross and repugnant. And we say it has no place in our community. At the same time, it is not illegal to march and express repugnant and disgusting views. So those that are saying, we need to do something about this, well, I'm open ears. What are we supposed to do something about? You can't make people being gross and thinking gross things illegal. And it's my understanding they had no permit to march. So what they were doing by keeping moving and not assembling for any length of time was preventing the Metro Nashville Police Department from dispersing them in an orderly fashion. More to come on all of this, but suffice it to say there are more questions than answers with regard to the motivations behind these individuals outside of their desire to get attention. And apparently, if this is the group we think it is, this blood tribe group, they go to different communities, they jump out of U-Hauls, they march in the streets in their red and black and their cosplay outfits, acting like idiots, and then they jump back in and they go off to the next town. I don't know if they're trying to rally support or whatever, I would like to believe that they're going to get is a bunch of one-finger salutes. Chad is in Nashville with a thought on all of this. Hey, Chad, glad you called. How are you?
I'm well. Joe Biden likes Bud Light, by the way. Anyway, so my first thought was bought and paid for by Justin Jones, and that blonde chick you just mentioned, her name was on the news this morning. But at the same time, I didn't see him going through busting any boot store windows open and running out with expensive boots. That's all I really had to say.
Well, thank you, Chad. I don't know how long they were there. I mean, this group, if it is the Blood Tribe, they made headlines last year when some of their members protested outside of Disney World. They've also been said to have protested in Ohio for some reason. The protest outside of Disney World, according to Tennessee Star, and I forget who wrote the article. Tom Pappert of the Tennessee Star wrote this article. Saying that the members protested outside of Disney World in support of measures taken by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis against the woke corporation. Shortly after the appearance at the protest in Florida, it was revealed that this bonehead guy, McClellan, who has covered his entire face and upper body in racist and neo-Nazi tattoos, claimed to have volunteered to fight in Ukraine, and that record of foreign service is in dispute. Nobody really knows. Lindsay is next out of Pleasant Grove. Lindsay, thank you for your call. How are you?
I am well. Happy afternoon, Matt.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I played the wedding march for Dear Mac. Happy engagement.
Happy engagement, indeed.
I played it for my, but I didn't turn it into the death march. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that those two songs sound so similar, Lindsay.
Well, we have to rename him now. I said, now you're not Cougar Cow. I'm sorry, dear friend, but you're a Cougar Scat.
What? Whoa! Whoa! I was singing over it.
Away from all the Cougars, and I wish him well in his marriage, but now he's Cougar Scat.
Matt Morey, are you listening back there?
Yep. Hearing it all.
All right, Lindsay. So there you go. There you
Thanks,
go.
Lindsay.
Listen, I called about Dan Mandis this morning. He was talking about, remember the one cop that got shot and the other was wounded, one was killed?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and Mandis doesn't take calls. And I used to think that was, no offense intended to present company, but because he was too busy to take calls. But instead, I heard him one time say, it's because nobody ever called in. So I want to accuse Boss Mandandis of being biased to us non-texters. And I have the solution. He asked to for our policeman, what could we do that's beyond a taser and yet not shooting somebody? Because the dude was like, the tasers are the best thing. But it didn't take down this man.
Well, I happen to hear...
Well, I say darts.
Darts?
Tranquilizer darts. That we need some medicine that works instantly and just put them to sleep. Oh, somebody might fall down. They would with a taser. They would with a gunshot. I think the solution to these poor cops is just to put everyone out with a tranquilizer dart.
Okay, Lindsay, how do you think tranquilizer darts work?
I think it's better than shooting bullets from guns.
Well, sure.
Unless it's me defending myself. I believe in the Second Amendment.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think tranquilizer darts work in the same fashion that they work in a James Bond movie.
They work on elephants and stuff. You're telling me we don't have the technology.
Well, but they don't work immediately on elephants or such. So, I mean,
that's what we need.
When you yeah, but you're going to kill somebody.
I
feel like I'm trying to answer. I mean, no offense to you, Lindsay. I'm trying to answer a non-serious question with a serious answer, but tranquilizers don't work that way. Tranquilizers it takes a minute for them to go into effect. So in a time frame where you are worried for an officer's life and you're trying to use non-lethal means to neutralize the threat in front of you, as opposed to using lethal means that you have at your disposal, you need those non-lethal means to be as swift as possible. And we have yet to discover anything that is more swift than a taser. Now, occasionally a taser doesn't work because you're dealing with somebody that's too fat or is hopped up on drugs or whatever.
Yeah, like this morning.
But I feel like I feel like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater when we just say, "Oh, we need something better." I mean, we had something better. It was called a billy club, but we were told that was not permissible anymore.
No, tranquilizer that works quickly. They can do that.
Okay, Lindsay, you know how much I love you. You're one of my favorites. You really are one of my favorites. But
I love you too.
I want to. And because of that, I'm going to back the car up. Beep, beep, beep.
Okay.
Tranquilizers don't work immediately.
How could that be? We've all seen Jurassic Park and stuff. There's got to be. And, it was Mandis
Well, it's on the internet. So
I don't believe there's something that's just taser and then
Wait a minute.
bullet.
Are you going to believe Boss Man Dandis, who won't even take your telephone call, or me? Come on, Lindsay. Come on.
He said there's got to be something in between. And I can't believe with all
I
the
heard that.
technology in this world, there can't be an instant working knockout pill.
I heard that. And Lindsay, God bless you. I appreciate you, and you keep listening. I actually had a similar reaction to perhaps some of you as I was listening to Nashville's Morning News this morning with Dan Manis. And I love Dan to death. And you know what? Dan is smarter about a lot of things than I am. But on this matter, I was a little bit confused. Dan wants something that works better than a taser, that in 99 point whatever % of cases is immediate and effective. He wants something that's better than a taser but doesn't kill people. And this morning, and I once again, I love him. He's like, surely there's something. Well, no, there's not something. For 99% of all of us, a taser is an immediate incapacitation that does not cause permanent damage. I mean, maybe 2630 says, how about a chloroform gun?
What, it shoots a little rag onto your face?
That's exactly what he said. He said it shoots a little chloroform gun. Shoots a doused rag of chloroform that wraps around the suspect's face. And then bloop.
Like a bolo?
Yeah, like and then, yeah, like a little boomerang action, only with a cloth. How about pepper spray? Well, pepper spray, certainly works, but it does not incapacitate. A taser is better than pepper spray in most cases.
Yeah, like rubber bullets, but that's not.
Let's just give them pocket nuclear devices.
When have we decided? When are we taking this one-off situation? And I understand that there are examples out there of one-off situations by which individuals are either too hopped up on drugs, or in some cases they're so large that they do not get impacted by the taser in the same fashion that most of us do. But let us not forget that in 99 point whatever % of cases, that I promise you something, if you get tased, you're going down. Easy. It's a family hour. It's the libertarian lunch. It's a holiday, Bell. You promised me you wouldn't play the going down soundbite on a holiday.
I did not play anything that said going down.
I said going down, and you said...
I didn't say anything.
What'd you say?
I said nothing.
What did that guy say?
My voice was not on the radio.
What did the guy say? What did he say?
It's almost 54 after.
Oh. Is that what he said? Sounded like something different to me. That's an odd soundbite. I don't understand it. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm proud to note that some months ago when I was telling you about the delicious sparkle syrup at Savory Spice, that we ran Savory Spice out of sparkle syrup. That is true. Savory Spice locations at L&L Market, on Charlotte Pike, and in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy, they completely ran out, and they had good stock. they completely ran out of sparkly syrup for the holidays because many of you listened to me and you thought, man, that sparkly syrup sounds kind of cool. I need to go check that out. And then you bought it. Well, now I want to run them out of popcorn sprinkle. That is my goal, to run them completely out of popcorn sprinkle because I love this stuff. They've got sweet, they have savory, and it is delicious. They've got the dill pickle flavor, and I'm a big dill pickle guy, and I love it. Absolutely love it. You will love it, too. They've got a flavor for you at Savory Spice. Of course, they've got salts, and they've got spices, and they've got blends, and they've got mixtures, and they have recipe items for you, the cook in your life. You can get it all at Savory Spice. You up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice. But for now, I want to encourage you to go and buy some of the delicious, all you have to do is add popcorn. And I think they sell popcorn, too. But I know they sell the popcorn sprinkle. At the one and only Savory Spice, 2 locations. Tell Holly and David that I sent you to Savory Spice.
101. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 56 degrees, a beautiful sunny day right now in Nashville, and looking like a pretty clear sunny week for the most part. Maybe Thursday, some showers. Forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Donald Trump responding to the death of Alexei Navalny by seeming to liken his political and legal battles with the challenges faced by the late imprisoned Russian descendant. His political opponents going on the attack. More from Selena Wang.
From the Biden campaign, they're already pouncing on those comments from Trump, calling them deranged. And also Nikki Haley, she's been going after Trump hard, and she came out with this statement saying Donald Trump could have condemned Vladimir Putin for being a murderous thug. Trump could have praised Navalny's courage. Instead, he stole a page from liberals' playbook, denouncing America and comparing our country to Russia.
Right now here in Tennessee, parents of fourth graders will be getting information from school districts soon on what it'll take for their kids to move on to the fifth grade. The State Department of Education signed off Friday on what will be defined as adequate growth for about 12,000 kids in Tennessee based on statewide assessment tests. Those tests are set to be administered from April 15th to the 30th. Not so fast, Mario. The Switch might not be quite ready. Here's Sherry Preston.
There may be some trouble for the world's most famous plumber.
It's me, Mario.
Several reports say the next generation of the Switch, Nintendo's popular gaming device, will be delayed. It was originally planned to roll out this year, but now may not arrive until early 2025.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and here we go with hour number 2. It's 1:06, and a good afternoon. Welcome. Happy President's Day to you. If you have the day off, congratulations. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Thank you for listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and more particularly, listening to The Murphy Show on said same. We'll be here till 3 o'clock. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. If you had called in last hour regarding, these so-called Nazis, and I say so-called Nazis because I don't want to give them credit. I don't want to give them credit for being more than they are, which are ridiculous idiots spouting gross, disgusting ideology. But for what it's worth, they were in town on Saturday and they packed up in their U-Haul truck and left. For those of you wanting to comment on this, we will get back to you coming up in just a couple of moments. We'll ask our next guest about what he saw over the weekend and what his response is to it, plus more important matters, frankly, addressing school choice in the state of Tennessee. Amongst those, we welcome back to the show Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, who joins us in studio on this President's Day. Jack? Man, Jack is so brilliant. Bell's not in his room. I don't know what Bell's doing, but you knew to hit your button, and I'm glad you did.
Well, I used to work in radio, so now we didn't have anything this fancy, though. I had like a little pot thing that you had to slide on to turn the microphone on, a little board that was about this big.
Jack, this room was fancy back in the early 2000s, I think. I think that's about right.
It's pretty fancy to me.
Oh no, we're trying to fancy
great.
We're fancying up the joint because of the TV side of things, which you look great on.
Well, I don't know about that.
You look fabulous on the television. Me, not so much. But there's a reason we're on radio.
Well, I'm just glad to be dressed somewhat casually, so I didn't have to put on the suit today.
And President's Day. I mean, look, we honor our for what it's worth. We honor our leaders. We honor our founding fathers. Obviously, we recognize the importance of the foundation of this country, no doubt, no question, and we honor those that have led us through the trials and travails that we've seen over the many years. But President's Day is also one of those weird days that I don't really know what to do with myself. I've never really taken it off, and I don't know what I would do if I did.
Well, I spent a lot of time in banking, and of course, banks are closed on. It's one of those federally recognized holidays. But wasn't the history of it that you had George Washington's birthday and Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and they're fairly close, like right in about this time? Mm-hmm. And there was some discussion about should we have celebrate George Washington's birthday or Abraham Lincoln's or both, and they settled on President's Day. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like I
remember, and I might.
That's what I always heard.
Well, I might be screwing this memory up. But I think this is correct. This might be some sort of Mandela thing going on, but I remember having both and then them combining them at some point. I remember when I was a young kid, you had Washington's birthday one Monday, and then like 3 weeks later you had Lincoln's.
Right.
And everyone was like, well, that's too close together. Let's combine them
into one holiday.
That's what I feel like happened.
Well, me and Bell, I think, have solved that mystery then, I guess.
Well, there you go.
If we're all three in agreement on it, it must be right.
Who is your, besides Ronald Reagan?
Oh, you can't do that.
Or Donald Trump.
Calvin Coolidge.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect answer. Perfect answer.
That is a perfect answer.
Yeah,
I can. Our interview is done. Goodbye.
One of the few.
I'm going to kick you out.
You can leave.
I'm going to kick you out.
Are you kicking me out? Well, if you're going to talk to me like that, I'm just going to.
I mean,
So I remember one of the few political science classes that I made an A in was the American presidency, and I remember studying the juxtaposition between Calvin Coolidge and then Woodrow Wilson, and the stark impact. And sadly, I think Woodrow Wilson with the progressive movement had more lasting impact on our country with the progressive movement and the repeal of the 17th
Negative
Amendment.
impact.
Negative impact, exactly. And I wish there had been a little more Calvin Coolidge in that.
So my mentor, let me tell you, I could talk all day about Calvin Coolidge because he is my favorite president. Even with Ronald Reagan in the mix. On my wall in my office in my home, my mentor, Don Markwell, had this in his office. And I, being a young 26, 27-year-old, I read it, and I took to the quote so much that I kind of emulated what he had done, and I put a similar copy into my office. And it's just, it is a framed quote by Calvin Coolidge. And this is the quote. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent.
I love that.
And it is a reminder that if you grind every day, wherever you come from, whatever background you have, if you grind every day and you're true to your belief system, you can accomplish great or even not so great things, depending on what that belief system might be.
And that's the majesty of the American experiment, is to create that environment that despite your background, where you come from, your wealth or lack thereof, education, the harder you work. And we've all known people who have demonstrated that time and time again. The older I get, the more people I get to encounter when I get to learn a little bit about them that came from very humble beginnings, dirt poor, but they just worked hard and exhibited that persistence, and now they're extremely wealthy. And so that's what we all strive for here in this American experiment.
And and while I cannot leave any subject involving Calvin Coolidge without telling my favorite political story, which I know that most of you have heard 1,000 times, but I'm going to tell it anyway. He was known as Silent Cal. He did not speak very much, and he had to do these state dinners and hated them, absolutely hated doing these state dinners that he was obligated as president of the United States to do. And everybody loved them, and everybody's all giggly, and they're drinking wine, and they're doing their things. And at one particular state dinner, Calvin Coolidge was approached and seated next to a woman at the dinner who, knowing his reputation and knowing how quiet of a man he was, she leaned over to him and said, Mr. President, I have to admit that I've made a little wager with some of my friends that I can get you to say more than 3 words tonight. And Calvin Coolidge said, Madam, you lose.
I've heard that before. I love it.
So great.
I love it. Yep. 3 words or less.
I believe in the conservative concepts of keeping government out of our way, which is why I was so pleased to note that a guy who I'm told universally is a good person and a good man, a representative in the House, Representative Ron Gant. I was so pleased to note that he had pulled his cold beer legislation, or warm beer legislation, as it were. When did you find out about this?
So I guess I've heard about it on the news, on the media, and it's part of, I'll get stopped in the grocery store or the convenience store. Or in church or on the sidewalk or whatever, and somebody will come up and say, "What about Bill so-and-so, Senate Bill so-and-so?" And sometimes they'll just mention the number, and I'm sorry, I don't have all 2,000 of them memorized. I mean, tell me what's the subject matter of the bill. And so I heard about it, I think, on the news, and of course did a little bit of checking on it. But no, Representative Gant is a dear friend. He's a good guy, and you've talked about his story and his experience there, and I think you said it very well. He is a great state representative. I do not support his legislation. He's pulled it. The Senate sponsor has as well, but got it out there maybe for a conversation. And we've done a lot in Tennessee to reduce drunk driving. I'm told we have some of the stiffest penalties in the nation here in Tennessee on that, and we should. But I don't think that's the answer. Full disclosure, I've owned convenience stores. I've been in that business, and I don't now, but I didn't think it was the right way.
Well, and you know what? You can only go so far as government to protect individuals from themselves. And the best way, in my experience as a small L libertarian, is to protect me from what others might be doing. That is an appropriate role of government. Right. So if we have a community setting, and obviously our public roadways are a community setting, then you have an obligation as a government to structure rules that are going to best protect me against people that might be, flaunting the rules. And so I have no problem with drunk driving laws. I have no problem with all of those things that are going to protect the health and safety. But you can only go so far.
That's right.
Before you start encroaching on the rights of individual citizens to the point that we kind of shake our heads and go, hey, this is big government, not small government.
Well, and it's also a good exercise, and I think a demonstration of the process and how the process works. And the process usually does work, and we usually end up in the right place. But I've certainly done that before. I've had bills drafted and legislation filed that once I look back on it now and think, what the world was I thinking?
Well, and once again, I want to reiterate, I don't know Representative Gant. I would love to have him on the show, and we're working to have that happen, but I can't fathom going through what he's been through. And for those that did not hear the story, he had a situation where he was struck by a drunk driver crossed the middle line, and he almost died. I mean,
he came very close. It was very nip and tuck there. Thankfully, he has recovered. He's still struggling, I think, with some of the effects of his injuries, but a really, really good guy. I've carried legislation with Ron in the past, and he's a great representative. And again, I didn't support that particular bill, and it's not going to even be put on notice.
So, what do you make before we get into more important things? Because I do think that there are more important things to talk about. pieces of legislation that will dramatically impact the lives of Tennessee citizens. What do you make of what happened Saturday? So we are told there's this gathering of individuals, a couple of dozen of them. They came into town. They wanted to make a spectacle of themselves. They obviously did make a spectacle of themselves. Tell me, from your capacity as Senate Majority Leader, what your response is.
Well, it's despicable, and I think, by the way, you talked about it in your first half hour, and I thought you articulated it very well. These people they're probably not from Tennessee. I don't know where they're from. Maybe we'll find out more later. But regardless, they're not welcome here. They're not welcome here with those types of viewpoints. I condemn them and what they stand for in the strongest possible terms. And I've been so pleased to see so many people speak out against them and what they were talking about. The Lieutenant Governor had a post that I thought was moving when he talked about all the tens and tens of thousands of people who fought in World War II to defeat the Nazis and protect the world from that evil, from that horror. And for people to be out there waving those flags, I think is it's not Tennessean, it's not American, and I condemn it in the strongest terms.
And I don't know of any elected official. I don't know of any Tennessean that hasn't done so.
No, and thank you for saying that, because you've alluded to some of the comments that have been made by some people. I serve in the General Assembly. I know most every member, certainly know every Senate member, and I know most House members. I don't know a single person in the Senate, especially on the Republican side, who in any way espouses those viewpoints. In fact, quite the opposite. In the wake of the horrific acts in Israel by Hamas on October 7th, we have almost universally, if not universally, come out and condemned those actions and stood in strong support of the state of Israel and the Jewish people.
What Representative Jones had to say about it, set that aside for a moment. Representative Pearson said this on social media, and I understand it's the House, and I understand that he has his free speech rights as well, but he said this is the hate that the Tennessee House GOP fosters from their positions of power in the General Assembly. I'm disgusted that Nazis are comfortable doing this, but I'm not surprised. Tragically, their views are shared by many who I serve alongside on the other side of the aisle.
Well, it's reckless and it's careless. It's untrue. I can say emphatically that is untrue. I'm good friends with all 75 Republicans in the House of Representatives. I say good friends. I'm certainly acquainted with many and good friends with many, and certainly the 27 Republicans in the Tennessee State Senate who all condemn the actions of those who gathered yesterday, and we certainly stand strongly with Israel and the Jewish people.
I'm fascinated, and you've said what you've said, and I appreciate those words because I could not agree with them more. I don't know what else to do with it except to condemn, because I believe that what Representative Justin Pearson said over the weekend is not only shameful, it is dangerous. It could potentially lead to individual members of the body, those that might believe Justin Pearson, being put in danger, in harm's way. If you get someone who is mentally disturbed, who wants to take out some sort of I hesitate to even go down that road about what could happen. I just do believe that it is dangerous to use this type of language with regard to your fellow colleagues, and it's unproductive. If you're in the member, forget the fact that what you're saying is shameful and untrue.
Exactly.
You also, one would presume, if you're in the minority like the Democrats are, would want to foster certain positive relationships if you want to advance an agenda that's going to be good for your constituents. How is this fostering any sort of relationship by which you can benefit your constituency by advancing legislation that you feel like would be of benefit to them?
And sadly, I think you've hit the nail on the head. There are some members of the General Assembly from the other side of the aisle, from where I sat, who have no desire whatsoever to foster relationships, to build bipartisan agreement when it's possible, and there are many instances when it's not, but they just seek to divide.
Let's talk about matters when we come back that I believe would unify the state of Tennessee, particularly the school choice legislation, known as school choice, also known as the school scholarship plan or the Freedom Scholarship Plan. We'll talk about that with Senator Jack Johnson. It's my understanding that we might have some movement on actually seeing language within the legislation this week. We'll find out from Jack Johnson next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When United Structural Systems comes out to your home, you're getting problem solvers at your home who provide you peace of mind and get to the root of the problem, literally and figuratively, and they solve it. You don't get people that want to add to your problems, and you certainly don't get anyone that's worried about meeting a sales quota. You get a team of experts at USS that since 1994, they've been doing the good business of the people of the state of Tennessee, also Southern Kentucky and Northern Alabama, and they've been doing it the right way. 25,000 satisfied residential customers and testimonials galore at their website, USSTN.com. The homeowners simply trust USS because they are trustworthy, and they've demonstrated that over 30 years. They're going to fix the foundation, the waterproofing issues that your home has. So if you've noticed the signs, if you don't know what the signs are, go to USSTN.com and look them up. If you do know what the signs are, you know, the cracks in your basement or your crawl space, the telltale signs of moisture or mildew or mold, you can smell that smell, if you know what I'm saying. Let the experts at USS get to your house and give you that peace of mind. Homeowners trust USS because they've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com.
Nikki Haley falling farther and farther behind in those polls against former President Donald Trump. And we update you on the Nazi march that happened over the weekend in downtown Nashville. 1:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, so good to hear your voice, especially at 124, 125. Yeah. That's a special President's Day edition of the news with Mac Maury on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, can I have a matrimony Monday Mac attack?
Ooh, I love that.
Can I have a little of that?
Absolutely.
Because I feel I need to talk with you about a number of things. I feel like we need to gather together. Did Chris Hand allow the audience to give you some marital advice?
Yeah, overwhelmingly on the I'm so sorry. The members nutrition super text line. Overwhelmingly, it was a run. That was what I was getting.
No, I've met Hannah. You don't run. Jack, are you aware of this?
No, well, is it engaged or
engaged?
Okay,
engaged.
Okay, but the actual event hasn't happened.
Yes,
well,
yes.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you.
You still have to mind your P's and Q's, buddy.
Yes,
she's not signed on the dotted line just yet. I thought of you over the weekend. I watched The Princess Bride.
That was my top pick.
It was your top pick?
Movies.
And Hannah has not seen it, right?
She has not seen that.
Oh,
unfortunately.
I thought of you.
Has she seen Alien?
I don't think she's seen Alien.
Well, if she's got some romantic movies to catch up on.
I just hope you're marrying someone who is as wonderful as my wife, and if so, you will have a very, very wonderful marriage.
You know what? You know what? If Hannah turns out to be a tenth of the woman as Jack's wife, you're doing good because there's nobody like her,
and that will all be better as long as she's listening and heard me say that right now. So I hope she is.
If she's
hey,
not,
Jack, if you need me to pull the audio and give it to you,
could you pick it up
Twitter,
on YouTube right around the time that I doubled down and said the tenth of a thing? Would you do that?
Yes, absolutely. It'll all be good.
So school choice, a lot of conversation about this, and not a lot of real firm ideas about where we're going. You probably know more than some, maybe even most, considering you're Senate Majority Leader. When do we expect the particulars, the details are going to come out? And explain to people, I tell you what, first off, explain to people the process, because I was trying to explain it to your colleague, Senator Heidi Campbell, and she didn't seem to understand it. So explain to people the process of sometimes how, with the filing deadline in the General Assembly, you kind of file a placeholder bill knowing that that's going to be replaced by the
famous caption bill. The very, very famous caption bill is what it's referred to. No, it's really simple, and some people have tried to assign some ulterior motives. There's something sinister, shisty. We do have a bill filing deadline, and that's a good thing because there's a date certain when you cannot file any more bills. And so the way our Constitution works, if you file a piece of legislation, the bill has to open up the particular caption of the code, or the particular title, the section of the code, if you will. And so sometimes you don't have it fully baked. You don't have the actual language ready to file, but you know you will, and so you file a placeholder bill. We refer to them as a caption bill. Sometimes you file caption bills that you don't even plan to use, but you just never know what's going to happen in March or April, that you might need a bill. And that's what we did with this one. So, and it has taken us a little bit longer, and there's some reasons for that. But we expect to have language which will effectively be the governor's proposal. This is an administration bill. I, as majority leader, filed the administration bills. William Lamberth files them in the House. And so we should have an amendment ready to be referred to the respective education committees this week. And really, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. And in fact, there was a draft that got circulated a couple of weeks ago, and we were happy to do that. We were clear that it's maybe not the final thing. The governor's going to propose 20,000 of these scholarships for the coming school year. 10,000 that will be needs-based, be for those eligible would be those at or below 300% of federal poverty level, and then another 10,000 that can be utilized by anyone, first come, first serve. That's effectively it. Now, we do want to, though, make sure that we're stating with some kind of intent, legislative intent, that we want this to grow so that we can ultimately become a state to where we truly have universal school choice, which means that any kid graduating from high school, or rather that is in K-12 schools, be they public, private, would be eligible for one of these scholarships.
So some of the concerns are that this would somehow impact funding of public education. I understand that it will impact money in as much as if you have numbers of kids no longer within the public system, that will affect overall budgets. But just walk through your understanding of how this will be funded, the actual dollar amounts will be funded from the scholarship fund, and how will it impact public education funding?
Sure. So the proposed amount will be just over $7,000. I think the final number would be $7,075. Well, how'd you come up with that amount? Well, if you take the average, there are roughly almost 1 million kids that are K-12 school eligible right now. About 85% of those are in public school right now. So if you take the amount of money we appropriate for K-12 education, every kid who's in a public school right now, and you divide it by the number of kids that are in public schools, it comes to about $7,075 per student. So that's the average. Now, that does vary by district and by county, but what the governor is proposing is that we take that statewide average, that's the money the state puts into education, which, keep in mind, that's only a portion of it. There's also a local portion in every district that the local government puts in, and in some counties that's more than for others. But we're saying the statewide appropriation on average for every kid would follow the child, and that would generate a scholarship. Now, I would argue that for many districts, if a kid that's in public school right now and they utilize one of these education freedom scholarships and the state portion follows that child, they're keeping their local appropriation. So that money stays in the county or in the school district, yet they don't have the child to educate. So will there be...
It would be a net monetary benefit.
Exactly. For many districts,
For many of
it
the
absolutely would.
districts.
So I do not view it as being fiscally damaging or detrimental to
Then where's the money
schools
coming
in any way.
So the money's moving, but not all the money that is designated for the individual public schools is going to move with the child. So some of the money moves with the child, some doesn't. So you could kind of look at it as a net win for all parties involved because it's a voluntary movement
it is.
on the part of the parents. Obviously.
Because we're creating a scholarship here, and don't hold me to the exact dollar figure, but this is ballpark. On average, we're spending about $12,000 per child in the state of Tennessee to educate them in public schools. We're creating a $7,000 scholarship. So on average, you could say that $5,000 is going to remain in the local government, remain in the local school system, and yet the scholarship that will follow that child is far less than what's actually being spent on them right now in public schools.
Would you help Heidi understand this? Because I can't help myself. No, you don't have to respond to that. So, I mean, obviously people like Senator Heidi Campbell and others, and she made a now what some would consider infamous appearance on my show, asked to be on the show, asked to go after this bill that had not yet been drafted, but was very, very emphatic that it would hurt public education in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of ways to crack that open, but I don't believe that it hurts the funding. Every funding mechanism that I've seen indicates that it'll leave more money behind, that it keeps it. And I want to make sure that people understand this because it took me a minute to understand this. There is already, correct me if I'm wrong, freedom of movement within the public education system in the state of Tennessee, right?
Yes, to a degree, and there are some conditions on that.
I mean, you have to pay.
Exactly,
So, if I want to move from a lower tax county to a higher taxed county with regard to public education, I might have to bridge that gap of money.
Right.
So if I move from a county to Williamson County, for example, Williamson County taxes a little more for public education, so I might have to pay the difference.
Right.
But other than that, I am free to move if there is availability and if I see a desire to do so because of a better educational opportunity.
That's right.
So this opens up there is now you're opening up freedom of movement without financial barriers or barricades throughout the state of Tennessee so that people can look to even more opportunities. I look at it as an education toolbox and giving parents maximum tools in that toolbox for the education of their child.
And let me put an exclamation point behind that, because you're spot on. There are 1 million public school or K-12 age kids in the state of Tennessee. The governor's proposing, and full disclosure, he wants to expand it. We would like to expand it. But for this year, 20,000. 20,000 out of 1 million is 2%. 2%.
That's right.
You have more fluctuation than that just because of people moving in and out. So it is not. And the one thing about Senator Campbell that I take great issue with is that she referred to this as some kind of a scam, I believe is the word that she used.
I want to address that in a second because there's the talk of scam and there's a talk of literally destroying public education as a result of that 2%. More on that in a moment, but I forget about the fact that Mac Morey's back there waiting to do the news. It's 1:34. I am way late. Bell looks disgusted at me, and rightly so. Here's Mac Morey in the newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
1:34. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 56 degrees, a sunny day on Music Row. Weather forecast coming up. Former President Donald Trump still fending off a primary challenge from his former UN ambassador Nikki Haley, but he's dominating in the polls and sounding more and more every day like a general election candidate, not someone who's vying for his party's nomination. Jay O'Brien.
Former President Donald Trump's lead more than doubling Nikki Haley in South Carolina polls, according to polling averages compiled by ABC's partners at 538. South Carolina is Nikki Haley's home state. Here she is at a campaign event this weekend.
Everybody's telling me, why don't you just get out? I will never give up.
Meantime, former President Trump spent part of Saturday at SneakerCon in Philadelphia, selling $400 Trump-branded shiny gold sneakers.
And Trump's visit to SneakerCon comes after a New York judge ordered him to pay an at least $450 million judgment because of fraudulent business practices. Trump's lawyers plan to appeal. Later today in Nashville, Channel 4 says state lawmakers planned a press conference to respond to what appeared to be a group of neo-Nazis marching downtown on Saturday. This is one of the videos that popped up on social media.
Cowards! Cowards! All of you! Cowards! Show me your faces! Where's your face, you cowards? Show me your face! Show me your faces, you cowards! All of you! Cowards! Cowards! Cowards!
A man shouting at the masked marchers who wore shirts with the words Blood Tribe on their shirts. Some held flags with swastikas. Police said the marchers got into a U-Haul box truck and left Davidson County, which indicates they may not be from here. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Dr. Gil and the Dr. Gil Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been around for well over 30 years now. Man, oh, man, you don't do anything for over 30 years if you're not doing it the right way, and they certainly are at the Dr. Gil Center. He understood from the beginning that he wanted to develop a team approach and hand-select individuals like Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of his staff to make sure that they lived up to the Dr. Gil standard of chiropractic care, and they most certainly have done that. So now they have a team approach. They're ready, willing, and able to serve you if you're within the sound of my voice and you're in pain. If you have back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, anywhere that it hurts. Chiropractic care used to be, back in the day, they were labeled as back crackers. They'd crack your back and then move on. Man, the technology has advanced well beyond that. Now we're talking about chiropractic care with state-of-the-art equipment, spinal decompression, not back cracking, pinpointing inflammation in the body with their red light therapy, their Class 5 laser system, all designed to alleviate your pain and stop the popping of pills, stop the need for needles, and stop the consideration of surgery. So don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gil. Here's the number, 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gil Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Also, Senator Jack Johnson's in studio with us for a few more minutes, talking the General Assembly, the legislative session that has been and that is upcoming, and some of the action expected this week and beyond. I asked just before we came back from break, I'll just peel the curtain back and let you guys in because you guys think that like Jack and I are having some sort of super secret conversations here. Here's the conversation. Hey, I need to ask you if you're running for the 7th Congressional District. Jack laughed like he just did and said, yes, I'm happy to clean any of that up if you'd like. Jack, with the announcement that Congressman Mark Green has made the decision, I think you're in 7, aren't you?
I am, yes. I live in the 7th Congressional District.
And what are your current plans with regard to public service? You like I
love the way you put that. Love the way you put that. Well, let me first say Mark Green is a great friend. We served together in the state Senate for about 6 years. I believe we overlapped, and he did a great job. I'm sorry to see him leave as our congressman. I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in going to Washington. The answer is, if I'm asked, am I interested in running for that? The short answer is no. The long answer is heck no. I'm grateful for people that are willing to go to Washington and serve up there.
You're funny.
But I have no interest in that. We are getting so much done at the state level here, and I very much believe that when you think about federalism, you think about state rights, state sovereignty, and standing up to the federal government, that the real battle lines are being drawn at the state level, and it's important that we continue the good work we're doing here. Tennessee is the most conservative state in the United States of America. We are leading the nation in so many different ways, and I want to make sure we keep doing that, because ultimately, for this republic to survive, states are going to have to stand up and reassert their state sovereignty.
Almost a Sherman-esque quote there. Almost a Sherman-esque quote. It's one of my favorite quotes about is what is it? I think I've got this right. If nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve.
That's right.
Which was Sherman's quote about whether or not he was interested in the presidency of the United States. Any ideas about where this goes then? I mean, maybe it's way too soon. We've got to figure out where people's hearts are, where their minds are. Frankly, after the 5th Congressional District debates and all of that going on, I'm not really sure with the restructuring and the new lines where 7 ends and 5 begins or 6 ends. So I'm not sure who's who and who would even qualify, but any early leaders in the clubhouse for Jack Johnson?
Well, I'm going to refrain from mentioning any names. Like you and like probably many people listening, I've heard some names that have been mentioned, some of whom I thought would be outstanding candidates for Congress. But the good news is the filing deadline is April 4th, so we'll know pretty quick. We'll know pretty quick. The field will materialize and crystallize here pretty quick. It is incredibly important that we elect the right person and someone who will go up. And again, selfishly, I'm looking for someone who's going to go up and realize that the federal government has gotten way out of control and has far exceeded the limitations that I believe were intended by the framers. And we've got to get back to states asserting themselves, and we need a good partner with that. And we've got some great people in our delegation right now, so we'll find a good person.
Speaking about Mark Green and his service, and sadly I missed most of that before coming to the great state of Tennessee, but I got to catch his service as a congressman, and it's obvious and it's well on record as to how he has served the state of Tennessee. But it's something that he said in his announcement leads me to believe that it's not over. And I'm not asking you for any intimate knowledge because I know he's a friend, but he said, I've come to realize, I'm paraphrasing him, that the solution is not in Washington, or the how to tackle these issues are not in Washington. Our issues are with Washington, indicating to me that he feels like, and once again, don't want to put thoughts in his head, but I'll ask you, do we need to see more governors, like our own Governor Bill Lee has made some pretty emphatic statements about the overreach of the federal government, more governors like Greg Abbott? Do we need to see more collections of states pushing back on this overbearing federal government that thinks that they can dictate every aspect, every intimate detail of our daily lives in the state of Tennessee?
I've seen it firsthand because I've served, I've been in the state Senate under, George W. Bush and also Donald Trump. And I can tell you that certainly during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president of the United States, we saw the federal government pulling back. We saw a reduction in terms of the amount of interference that we have to deal with. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that should President Trump win another term this November, that will be one of the priorities during that 4 years that he has remaining to serve, to continue to allow states to assert their state sovereignty. And to your question, I think if you see more of that, it's why I've always supported convention of the states, and ultimately there might need to be a constitutional convention called. That's a very high bar to try to meet, but it's something that should be on the table. But if we could get the right people in Washington and get in control in Washington, we could undo a lot of the damage.
Toward that end, there are some in Tennessee, some actors on, and these are, publications, whether they be websites or bloggers or whatnot. And there are some that would call my shot, and I think some that are serving with you in the Senate. I think Janice Bowling filed I don't know what we would call it, a nullification bill, or just a reassertion of the 10th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, and a reassertion that the states have the lane when the federal government does not specifically speak on some of these matters. There's some that are suggesting that the General Assembly's not done enough when it comes to things like immigration policy to protect Tennessee, considering that it's clear the federal government's not going to protect the United States of America and our southern borders. Do you believe that there's been enough done by the General Assembly, and is there any more that you can do specific to the issue of immigration?
Well, from a high level, what states have to do is demagnetize themselves. You have to remove the reasons that. Now, we can do things like Governor Lee has done. We've sent National Guard troops down to the border to help. We've deployed resources down there, and so that's certainly helpful. Other states have done that as well to try to help Texas and secure their border. Ultimately, the federal government has the responsibility, which they're failing miserably at right now in terms of securing that border. We also know under Donald Trump that he curbed illegal immigration flow into the United States down to a trickle. Many presidents prior to Donald Trump had said, "Oh, I'm going to secure the border." They never did. Well, Donald Trump did it, and had he been elected to another term, and hopefully he will be this November, I think he would have actually shut down the southern border. So we are always looking at ways we can demagnetize Tennessee and remove the reasons. Once those people are in the United States of America, you do have freedom of movement. You have the ability to traverse and move from state to state and community to community. And so we have to remove the reasons that those people want to come to Tennessee. You do that with E-Verify. You do that with the SAVE Act, which I sponsored a few years ago, which says that in order to receive public benefits, public entitlements in the state of Tennessee, you have to prove your citizenship or that you're in the country legally.
Did that pass?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
it's on the books right now. We're one of the few states. So for those people who say we haven't done enough, make sure you know what we have done and that we've utilized virtually every lever we can find to make sure that we are demagnetizing Tennessee and letting those people, once they're in the country, unfortunately they're in the country, go to other states that don't have those same kind of policies on the books.
Is it a situation, considering the uncertainty of what comes in November? I think all of us long for a Donald Trump presidency that will get serious about the southern border, which will alleviate some of the pressure that we're seeing right now in all states, not just Tennessee. But is there any more, and are you open to looking to more that we can do with the unfortunate possibility that you see another Biden term or Harris or whoever it might be on the Democrat side of things? They don't seem to be experiencing, well, I don't know. It remains to be seen how much backlash they're going to get over what they're doing. I think the American people are smarter than this. I think they're smarter than the talking points, and I think they're going to speak loudly in November. In the unlikely event that doesn't happen, anything more you'd like to see happen? You mentioned E-Verify. I know that there are loopholes and there are ways around getting this done in a fashion that would really prevent some of the business opportunities, work opportunities. What more can be done, I guess, is the question.
You think about the reasons. If you have a porous southern border, which regrettably we do right now, and hopefully that'll be remedied with a second term of Donald J. Trump as president. But in your hypothetical example, should that not happen and we continue to have a porous border, then you have to think about what are the reasons these people are coming to the United States. And generally it is for jobs or benefits, some type of entitlement type programs. And so we have to make sure that when they come across, that when they're thinking about, okay, now I've made it into the United States, which state am I going to go to? Which community am I going to go to? You want to make Tennessee the least desirable place for those people who are in this country illegally to want to travel. And we've done a lot of that, but I'm certainly open to better ideas. And there are bills filed virtually every year to try to think of different ways we can help send that signal, and to employers in the state of Tennessee, don't employ these people. You better be following the law with the I-9 process, E-Verify, to make sure the people you are hiring are in the country legally. And if they're not, then you're going to be held accountable.
Does the Republican Party get a bad rap, not specific necessarily to your colleagues in the General Assembly, who are now in control, both bodies? Does the Republican Party get a bad rap of allowing some of this to go on? We call them Chamber of Commerce Republicans, where they're concerned about business models that have come to depend on illegal labor. Is there a legitimate complaint there from folks listening that would suggest that there are some that like the status quo because it assists them with regard to their specific business?
In my time in the General Assembly, I've never been lobbied one time by anyone from the business community saying we need more illegal immigrants in the state of Tennessee. Not a single time. No one has ever advocated that. I think maybe they just know that's not going to go anywhere with me, and that argument would probably get you very quickly removed from my office if you're going to try to advocate that Tennessee be a place for people who are in the country illegally to want to come. So no, that's never been an issue. What you do hear from the business community is unnecessary overregulation and creating things and processes that businesses have to follow that are ineffective and just create more work and cost businesses more money. And we don't want to do that, but I have no issue putting processes in place. One of the very first bills I passed, Matt, in 2007 was for universal use of E-Verify by every employer in the state of Tennessee. Is my very first year in the state Senate. Unfortunately, and I passed it. I passed it in the Senate. Unfortunately, Democrats killed it in the House. We came back a couple of years later. Jim Tracy, my good friend, actually sponsored it, and we were one of the first states to pass the utilization of E-Verify in the state of Tennessee. And that's a tool. That's one thing. That's not going to solve the problem. Again, it goes to benefits and entitlements. That's why I sponsored the legislation to say, if you're going to receive these entitlement benefits in Tennessee, you first got to show that you're in the country legally.
Jack, thank you for the better part of an hour. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Get back to work tomorrow, will you?
I am. Bright and early. I'll be up there. Thanks, Matt.
Take care. There's Senator Jack Johnson for the better part of our hour. It's 1:53. We've got another hour to go on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you are trying to make a decision whether to replace or repair your heating or air conditioning system, it is time to call Jeff Eddy. I like to say if your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy. And Efficient Heating and Cooling. He's not the biggest in the world when it comes to heating and air conditioning, but he wants a 100% satisfaction guarantee. He wants his satisfaction rating to never deviate from 100%. And that means that he will strive every single moment of every single visit to your home, whether it's himself or a qualified technician of his, to satisfy you to your full completion. From the moment they step through your doorway, you can trust that they're going to tell you the truth when it comes to your heater. Now, when it comes time, it's time, and these things don't last forever. And with that in mind, they are a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric. They're an elite pro partner with Rheem. But that's only when it comes time. Before then, they're going to fix what ails that heater and get it up and running. And it's never too early to think about the spring when that AC will be on. It's almost maintenance season with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Call 615-784-4424 for any of your needs. 784-4424 or efficienthvac.net.
2:01, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 58 degrees, that sun flying high in Nashville. Got a weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Ahead of Robert Hur's expected testimony before lawmakers next month, House Republicans hoping to learn more from the Justice Department about the special counsel's probe of President Biden's handlings of classified documents. Hur determined earlier this month that prosecutors would not be able to prove Biden's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Stephen Portnoy.
Among other things, House Republicans are seeking recordings of President Biden's interview with the special counsel and communications between the White House and the Justice Department in the lead-up to the Hur report's release. In a letter reviewed by ABC News, the Justice Department says it's working expeditiously to respond to the Republicans' requests. But first, DOJ says it will have to consult with the White House and others in the executive branch to determine whether any confidentiality interests might be asserted.
Right now in Nashville, a teenager suspected in 2 murder cases is now a suspect in a shooting. 19-year-old Oswaldo Corrado was free on bond and waiting for trial on the murder cases when he allegedly shot an acquaintance in the hand at Mill Ridge Park on Old Hickory Boulevard Friday night and pointed a gun at the 23-year-old cousin. He was arrested at the Walmart in Laverne on Saturday. 6 days after Mardi Gras, the massive mess created every year in New Orleans has finally been cleaned up. Jim Ryan has a look at the numbers.
Carnival season lasted from January 6th to Fat Tuesday, February 13th. Over that 5-week span, 383 people were arrested, 143 guns were seized from along New Orleans' many parade routes. In the aftermath, city officials collected more than 2 tons of aluminum, about 154,000 beer cans, along with 12,729 pounds of beads and other items thrown from parade floats.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
I know how it goes, fellas. Valentine's Day has come and gone, and maybe the loved one in your life was not that impressed with the flowers and the candy and the traditional stuff. How about the gift of peace of mind with Craft Body Scan? It's still going on. In Feb, the month of love, you can show how much you love your partner with a profound expression of love. And I know it's going to sound silly for me to say a CT scan from Craft Body Scan, but it's true. I mean, the peace of mind that you get out of this, knowing that everything that's inside of your body, because there's a lot of things going on in your body that you don't know about, you know, with your heart and your lungs and, I mean, all other parts of your body. I did a full body scan with Craft Body Scan. Cannot tell you how excited it made me to know that everything's A-okay. I got my full report. The radiologist looked over it, gave me the full report, both in the email format and verbally, and we're ready to go. We're right to go. And right now, for the month of February, $99. This is an almost $3,000 value for $99 for you and a spouse. It's a unique opportunity to take a vital step in preventative health care. Make the call that so many others have made and make the appointment today. 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000. All right, here we are. Here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 2 o'clock hour. Man, oh, man, where did the first 2 hours go? It's we breezed on by. We've got a small sliver of time left together on this President's Day.
So that's how much faster the show goes when Mac's here with us.
You know, I think we should start making demands.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Demands that he just not have a lunch break.
That's it.
Demands that he just work from sunup to sundown. I mean, my goodness, why not?
Okay, no Mac, no show.
You know what? Now that he's an engaged man, once he becomes married man McMurray, the quad M married man McMurray,
the quad M, as you have.
He'll want to be at work. I kid. I don't. It's hard to joke because I've met Hannah and I know what a vision of loveliness and a wonderful delight she is.
She's awesome.
And you've clearly...
She's not going to marry you.
No, she's out. Have you met her?
Yes.
I don't understand. I was with you
when we first met her.
I don't even quite understand it.
I don't either. I mean, she's actually
it.
very, very attractive.
She's very attractive.
And not a nerd.
She's not a nerd. She's an intelligent woman.
Way smarter than me.
I mean, I don't understand.
We ain't pushing the envelope too much there.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
that's a low bar. Low bar.
You could just say she's smart.
Yes.
And say,
she uses her brain on a regular basis.
Okay, so while we've got you over there in the newsroom, it's not an official Friday style Mac Attack, but we might as well just go ahead and talk about this. So, for those that maybe missed the Chris Hand show, or Cougar Scat, as they're calling it now,
Scat.
Monday Mac Attack.
It is a Monday edition of Friday Mac Attack on Super Talk 99.7 WTN with the one and only Mac Morey. So just give everyone a view of 10,000 feet or whatnot. What happened Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, so I did it at Love Circle, which is this park on a hill. It's just this little piece of land, this strip of land that kind of sits in a cul-de-sac. It's on a hill, and it overlooks the whole skyline of Nashville. It's really awesome. It's very pretty. It's maybe not as romantic as you may be picturing in your mind. There are fences with barbed wire and random electrical towers, but the view of the city's great. The picnic was awesome. I had a whole picnic set up. I told her we're going to a winery. And she's getting there. She's like, I know every winery around here. This is not where we're a winery. I was like, yeah, you don't know every winery. Just shush. Just come on. And so we got there, and then
shush.
Just come on.
How much longer is that going to fly?
Yeah. You shush her while you can, pal. You hand the ring over, the shushing stops.
That ceases.
Wait, so how did you just pick for the view and just for the basic scene, and it was ease of setup?
Yeah, easy. Yeah. I thought that we
Plus,
both...
she'd have farther to walk if she said no.
That's true. You'd have to go all the way down that hill on her own.
So, it was easy. Very pretty spot. And
no, it's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty. My only confusion is I had just recently been there.
Yeah, so you kind of know.
There's a big, I think that's the public radio station. Their big radio
that's what
tower.
it is. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it makes sense because it's on that hill. They were utilizing that hill back in the day. Whatever. So so at what point? What I'm curious about. So the setup is we're going to a winery for Valentine's weekend.
Yeah,
right?
We didn't get to do something super special. I'm saving it for Saturday. I got a really nice lift for us to take, and she was like, well, why are we taking a lift? I was like, well, we're going to have some drinks. That way we can maybe have a couple more than we usually would, and we'll lift back, kind of making that happen, painting this picture.
Keith writes in and says, by the way, on the, oh gosh, I can't forget this, on the Members Nutrition. There you go. Members Nutrition, super text line, Keith writes in and says, rounded by barbed wire. How romantic.
It's
Well, if I know Mac the way that I know Mac, maybe this is the long game because he figures if he marries her, odds are he's going to end up behind bars anyway. So you might as well get used to, romantic walks with barbed wire surrounding you.
Let's just be honest. The whole point of marrying Hannah is just to guarantee bail money.
Yeah, probably so.
No, she said she knew for sure we weren't going to a winery when she saw the barbed wire. She's like, all right, so where are you taking me?
So you had friends and family set this up.
Yeah, really nice picnic, blanket, wine, cheese.
Where did the ring end up? Where was the ring set so that you didn't have to put it in your pocket?
So I had a basket with the food in it and everything, and I set that. We had already set up where I'm going to sit. I was like, she's going to sit on this side. I'm going to make sure she sits down there. I'll sit on this side. So put the basket over here. That way I'm the one dealing with the basket with the food. And when I open it, I can then see where the ring is, be like, okay, mentally plan that for about 15 minutes. So that was kind of the plan there.
So how long were you there before you pulled the trigger?
See, and I was talking about this with you on Friday, and I believe it was you, Murphy, because I was like, yeah, we'll get there, and then maybe like 20, 30 minutes after, and you said...
And I said, 30 minutes?
No way, you got 30 minutes in you.
There's zero chance that you made it 30 minutes. All right, tell me.
How long did you make it?
How long did you make it?
It was about 10. The cold, well, it was cold. Yeah, I had a blanket ready for Rep Brian of 104.5 The Zone. Luckily, had that idea. I was like, bring a blanket for her. I was like, that's a good idea. And so she can tell that I'm nervous. I was being awkward when we got up there. I'm saying stuff, and I'm like, you want to eat? I'm like pulling out this tomatoes and cheese with balsamic, glaze. And she's like, no, I don't. I can tell.
It's cold.
She's like,
why are we here?
Yeah, she's like, what's going on? So I like cut up a bite for her to eat, like acting like we're gonna eat.
If this is your idea of romance, we have to talk.
But then, and then I started saying the gushy stuff, and she kind of started to get a hint, and I stood her up, and then, did the whole thing. Went out on a knee. It was great.
Oh, man, those
you
pants.
had her stand.
Yeah, those pants. I stood her up.
You had her stand.
Thank you. I stood her up.
Speaking of, we're going to talk about standing people up here in a minute. That's what we're going to talk about right after we get through the actual question. So there's a great photo that you shared with the team of you on the knee. You did the whole knee. What a classy way to do this, Mac. I mean, in all seriousness, I'm going to pick on you incessantly about it for the rest of your life. But in all seriousness, what a classy way to do it. You went traditional. You insisted. I mean, in your mind, I talked to you about it last week. You're like, no, I'm getting on the knee and I'm asking her hand in marriage. Did you talk to her family beforehand?
Yep.
Good for you.
Yep. Went to go see. Well, I kind of talked to her mom a little bit in a different way. But it was more with her dad, more formal, sit down at their house. I want to ask your daughter to live the rest of her life with me. Yeah.
Jason on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, always quick with a comment, says, hey, Mac, if you need any help, Tennessee Men's Clinic can probably extend that 10 minutes out just a little bit. True. Weird if true.
Why was he laughing at that?
Fact check.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. So you asked her, and she said yes, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Obviously. It was great. And then...
how long did it take her to say it? What, 10 minutes? You said 10 minutes?
So she said yes, hug, we kiss, oh my gosh, laughing. And then
did your people come out of the woods at that point?
Yeah. We're laughing or whatever. And she's like, oh my gosh. And then I look to the right, and we see her two friends and one of my best friends with his huge lens zooming. He starts to duck. He's like, wait, are we supposed to be seen yet? And then he's like, okay, wait, our cover's blown. We're good. And they come running out and hug, and the girls are, yay. And it was great.
Good for you.
Champagne. It was awesome.
Was it everything for her and for you that you wanted it to be?
It's exactly, yeah. Mainly for her, that's what matters.
That's right.
Yeah, and it was. She said everything that she wanted and more was there. And then the rest of the day was great. We had a.
No, hold on a second. We'll talk about the rest of the day here in a second.
Murphy.
Did you stain those fancy breeches that you bought for the occasion?
I did not.
You did not. And you went to those were not just to show you guys, just to demonstrate how serious Mac Morey was about this engagement. You bought bought new breeches. And where did you buy those pants from?
Abercrombie and Fitch. Dang it!
And what did I tell you when you told me?
You said, "Oh yeah, I can't go in there because they got a scale at the front door."
I'm too fat to go into Abercrombie and Fitch.
I think this is the longest Mac has ever talked on the radio without referring to the Chiefs in some regard.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Good for him. Yeah. Well, hey, no. Welcome to. Wait. How long are you going to be engaged?
I think it'll be next fall. So we had a while.
So not this
year and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Because, only until you get married. You don't get this until you get married. Where. I don't know. I don't want to speak for your relationship because you and Hannah have a wonderful relationship, and I'm certain that everything will be great. I'm also certain at some point that there will be a plan that is initiated by your beloved wife that will conflict with your beloved Chiefs I guarantee you that at some point this will come down.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to – oh, wait, you're getting married in the fall?
Yeah, yes.
What do you –
what? No, I don't have that. I don't have – I told
Whose decision was that?
No, hers.
Hers?
So I'm going to miss a college football Saturday. That's already in the books. I'm trying to get this done before, the third Saturday of October, God forbid.
Oh, no.
I can't have that. Bama, Tennessee weekend. So, yeah, it'll be fine, though. Minimal casualties.
I vowed.
So is there any truth to the rumor, though, that her wedding dress is going to be red and yellow?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's what I've heard. I vowed to my wife that I would never, ever attend another wedding on a college football Saturday again, because I don't have any intention of attending another wedding that I'm involved in, right? Because I don't have any kids, and I'm married, yada, yada, yada. And they're not going to miss me. And the reason is because I had 2 weddings to attend on the day that Georgia and LSU played, that LSU beat the brains out of Georgia. It was the first loss of the season. And I blame those married couples on Georgia's loss. It's their fault to this moment. AJ, if you're listening, it's your fault that my beloved Bulldogs lost. So anyway, celebration. So you went on to a family celebration after the proposal?
Yeah, so I had a little space rented out, and my dad lives in a brand new apartment complex, got a really nice event space in it. So we rented that out, and had some food catered, and hung out for a couple hours. Yeah,
it's nice, and you probably crashed pretty early. You crashed pretty early?
Yep, pretty early.
Bell, move. I want to see his face when he lies to me.
Stop.
I want to see his face.
I did not mean to not text you. The night I got away.
You absolutely did.
That's true.
You know what? You've given me everything I wanted. Everything I wanted, which was an earnest, spirited defense of yourself when you ought to be saying, Murphy, this is not about you. It was the day I asked the woman that I love to be my wife. Nobody gives a crap what you were doing on Saturday night while I was not answering your multiple texts.
You did not.
I did too. There were multiples. It was.
Wait. Now I'm.
Hold on. I'll read them to you. Don't worry. I've got them.
I love how you failed to address that none of us got invited to the engagement party.
Well,
it was a family thing.
Whatever.
We're going to do. I'm certain that Boss Man Dandis is planning some sort of company event.
Yeah, you keep hitting that crack pipe.
For Maury. I mean, wouldn't he?
Okay, so you texted me.
No, he wouldn't.
I texted you at 9:35. I decided to wait until we were getting ready to leave the concert. More on that in a second. And I said, well, did you survive? And then nothing. And then I waited about another hour, and I said, I hope that's a yes. Hope y'all had a great day, brother. That's what I said.
It was very sweet.
And you hearted me like the next day. At like noon.
Well,
probably when you woke up.
In his defense, that is pretty much the way he responds to anyone's texts. Is like it's 2 or 3 days later after you've had multiple conversations with him that he'll respond to it.
I guess I should note that knowing that all of this was going down, I told Maury, I said, are y'all going to be around? And he said, yeah, we probably might be around. And I said, well, and I'm picking on him, of course. I said, if it works out, we're getting out of the Ryman, yada, yada, yada.
I did think, I wish I did not see by 9:30, I think I was.
Were you blotto?
Yeah, I was having.
Okay, you were celebrating a big day.
Yeah, that's all it was. Yeah. I swear, I would have loved to see you.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't think he believes me.
That's okay.
I don't think he believes me.
That's fine. I saw Clint Black. That's cool. It's all good.
How was that?
It's really surprisingly good,
nice.
Except for the dude in the cowboy hat.
Right in front of you.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do, and I want some advice on this. I think I played it the right way. I tried not to escalate it. But part of me wanted this guy in my life. And I decided that I was not going to have this guy in my life. I'll tell you the story in just a second. Congratulations to Mac Maury.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Hannah. She is now and forevermore going to be called Ms. Cougar on the. I mean, because if he's Cougar Chow,
it only makes sense.
Then it only makes sense that she is Mrs. Cougar. So. Make sure that Hannah's okay with that. I don't care about whether you're okay with it or not. I do care about whether she's okay with it or not. But congratulations to Mac Moore. I tell you what happened to me at the Ryman and get some thoughts on it, because sometimes these social settings, I try to escalate them or I try not to escalate them. I don't know what to do. Cowboy hat inside the Ryman Auditorium next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What is inside of your body? Let's discuss. Now, I know that that's a rather personal question, but did you know that toxins can build up in your body and suppress natural immunity, suppress your ability to absorb nutrients, suppress your ability to fight illness? It is true. It is a fact. I learned as much from Members Nutrition, and it's time that you got with the Youthful Cleanse and got those toxins and that nastiness and that awful waste out of your body. Your experience with a Youthful Cleanse ought to be the same as mine. I believe that it will be. If you feel bloated, if you feel gross or sluggish, run down, it's time to change the body's oil. The excess waste can cause you to age prematurely. There's just a lot of issues involved with toxins in the body and detoxifying the body. And that's what Youthful Cleanse is all about at Members Nutrition. It is one of the aspects of what they do at Members Nutrition. And I sat down with these guys. First and foremost, I was so pleased with the idea that everything they do, everything they make is made right here in the good old USA. That's important to me. It's important to me that it's not coming from overseas. It's important to me that I know the materials and the components that go into making the supplements, the natural nutritional supplements that are available at Members Nutrition. Secondarily, I understand that my money is spent and stays local in the good old USA and local right here in the good old state of Tennessee. Now, the Youthful Cleanse is what I want to focus on, and I want you to go to membersnutrition.com to find out more about it. Membersnutrition.com. They can welcome you to Members Nutrition, which is a new way to purchase quality supplements at a lower price than you're buying them from the brick and mortar boys. Youthful Cleanse. Type it in when you type in membersnutrition.com. That's membersnutrition.com.
An update on the war between Israel and Hamas. A woman ran over by a train in Tennessee, and a arrest of a double murder at the University of Colorado. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So many questions being asked on the Members Nutrition Super Text line regarding Mac Maury's impending nuptials. Nuptials? There's no M. Nuptials. So it is, and I hesitate to ask this question, but I will ask it. Because so many have queried me on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. Is Hannah younger or older?
Older by 6 days.
Very good. Then she can be Mrs. Cougar Chow. There you go.
That's all we needed to know.
That's all we needed to know. Many were suggesting that were she younger, then that is impermissible to call her Mrs. Cougar
yeah, that
Chow.
makes sense.
But it makes sense. She's older than you.
She is older.
And then you're Cougar Chow, so she's Mrs. Cougar Chow. There you have it. Have you seen, because I know you're a sports guy, have you seen this this clip that's running around the internet about the 7th grader, the 13-year-old?
Oh, my gosh.
J.J. Franks is his young man out of North Dakota.
What a beast.
I defy you to go find this. You can find it on my social media. I defy you not to smile by the time this video. It's only about, I don't know, a minute or so long. This video kicks butt. It is, here's a little spot of good news for you. So they run this contest at basketball games where if you can make a layup, a free throw, a three-point shot, and a half-court shot. Thank you. Thank you, Belle. Woo. There you go. Sing it, Ann Murray. If you can make a layup, a free throw, a three-point shot, and a half-court shot in under 25 seconds, you win $10,000. And this 7th grader from North Dakota did it. Mac Morey, how many chances would – I mean, it's all about the half-court shot, right?
It's the half-court.
It's all about the half-court. I mean, obviously, anybody can make a three-pointer. Anybody can miss a three-pointer. You got to do those first three. The first three, a good shooter will be able to do this,
pretty easy.
A pretty fair amount of the time. It's all about the half-court shot. And this little kid, have you seen the video?
Yeah, dude.
This little kid just he takes his time. He does the layup.
He does.
He does the free throw. He does the three-pointer. He doesn't rush. He knows he's got to get over quick to get to half-court. He gets to half-court, and when he sets, and he just slings that thing,
one
man.
arm baseball.
One arm, kind of baseball-y kind of deal, and dunk.
Yeah, but he wasn't. Yeah, that's what I noticed, too. He made that three, but he was like kind of jogging to the half-court line.
That's right.
He knew how much time he had. He got set, got behind a little bit the half-court line, cocked back.
So good.
Oh, that was awesome, man.
Oh, so good. I have no idea, by the way, those asking, I have no idea exactly when this happened. I do know that it is making the rounds this weekend on social media, and you can find it. And here, I'll play. Just listening to the... Here's the kid. All right, so he goes up. There's the layup. Makes the layup. Everybody applauds. Okay, there's the free throw. Made the free throw. Plenty of time. He's back to the three-point line. Boom.
Everyone's like, whoa, okay.
Crowd's excited. So here, just casual, jogging back. All right. Here, he sets up, launches.
Yeah.
Pandemonium in North Dakota, ladies and gentlemen, as $10,000 goes down. I love the woman screaming, What just happened? It's so good. That's a little good news story. Here's the not so good news. I was out and about over the weekend. Saturday night, the wife and I attended the Clint Black 35th anniversary of Killin' Time. Great show. Clint Black is somewhere in his 60s now. He was out there. Lisa Hartman Black joined him for a couple of songs. His wife, his daughter was on stage with him. No opening act. It was Clint coming out 8 o'clock at night, cranked up the show, and for the better part of 2.5 hours, he put on a fabulous performance. No intermission. He went straight through Killin' Time and then went into the greatest hits, and it was terrific. Except for the cowboy hat dude. What is the protocol here, folks? If, in this case, my wife was sitting directly behind a dude at Ryman, the seats, if you've ever been, bunch of church pews, tight together, tight spots, cramped. Everybody gets to know one another. You always know what you're getting when you go to the Ryman, and I've got no problem with it. And I understand that in the friendly confines of the Ryman Auditorium or really any concert venue, that space is your space, and you're allowed to do with it what you will. But I do not, for the life of me, understand the mentality of somebody that would sit in front of a woman who's 5 feet 4 inches tall with their big-ass cowboy hat on and just sit there as if the world owes them something without regard for anybody behind them or anybody around them. I don't understand it. What I Well, I'll tell you in a moment what I ended up doing, which was nothing. Here's the newsflash. I just switched seats with her. But I don't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to say something. We talked loudly about the guy throughout the course of the evening, to the point that I'm certain that he heard us. More on this in a moment. And what is protocol here? Would you ask the person to take off their cowboy hat or not? I'll tell you what we did in a moment. It's 2:32. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.232, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 57 degrees, sunny in Nashville. Weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. President Biden not giving up on brokering a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas, even after talks last week in Cairo. Special envoy Brett McGurk will head to Egypt this week and likely make a stop in Jerusalem as well. Major gaps remain, with Hamas unwilling to relinquish control over the Gaza Strip and Israel unwilling to accede to what it calls delusional Hamas demands, including releasing thousands of jailed Palestinians. One of Israel's war cabinet generals taking a tough stand in the hopes of reaching a deal before Ramadan. Jordana Miller reports from Jerusalem.
Israeli War Cabinet General Benny Gantz threatening Hamas, giving it a deadline to turn over the 132 Israeli hostages. Gantz warning Hamas it has until the start of Ramadan, that is about 3 weeks, to release the hostages or face a military assault in Rafah. Gantz has pledged to safely evacuate Gazans before a major operation. His threat appears aimed at pressuring Hamas to soften its negotiating position and keep hopes alive of a hostage release deal before the Muslim holy month.
Right now in Tennessee, a woman was ran over by a train this morning in Springfield. It was near Industrial Drive on Highway 41 when she was discovered on the tracks. The victim said to be uninjured but critically ill and hypothermic. An arrest has been made in a double murder inside of a dorm at the University of Colorado Springs last week. The two victims were found after a call of shots fired. Alex Stone with the new details.
After staying pretty quiet about what they knew involving the killer, Colorado Springs police now say they have made an arrest. It came Monday morning, and the suspect and victims were known to each other. It was not a random crime. 24-year-old University of Colorado Springs student Samuel Knopp and 26-year-old Celie Montgomery, who is not a registered student of the school, were killed in the shooting.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Attention, gentlemen. Have you noticed a lack of motivation, energy, or drive? Do you feel sluggish? Do you feel run down? Do you have a low libido? I mean, all of these could be symptoms of something going on inside of your body that you need to know about, and something that's easily solvable if you know the right people. And I know the right people. They are Tennessee Men's Clinic. Since 2014, in excess of a decade now, they've been helping men just like you that feel tired, grumpy, if you've noticed weight gain, loss of muscle mass, if you don't feel like going to the gym anymore, if you don't feel like working out anymore or exercising, if you don't feel like yourself. Let's get those numbers checked. Men, we whistle past the graveyard when it comes to this stuff. We want to pretend like it's not happening. It is happening, and it will happen to most men. And that is good reason to schedule an appointment today with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tell them I sent you. It is a simple procedure. You go in, you get checked out. One of their urologists will check you out fully, get a little blood from you, check out what's going on inside of the body as well as exterior to the body, and then they're going to work on a plan of action, a plan of success to get you back to those energy levels that you used to know. Give the Tennessee Men's Clinic a call today. Schedule an appointment. Go online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for our good friends at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. February is American Heart Awareness Month, and it's a time to take an evaluation as to where you are in terms of your heart health. Did you know, for example, and I'm not here to scare you, but did you know a staggering statistic that I was unaware of until I talked to my friends at Kraft Body Scan, and that is heart disease causes 1 out of every 5 deaths in the United States of America. At least that was the statistic in 2021. It highlights the critical importance of heart health and knowing what's going on with your body, knowing what's going on with your heart. If you don't know, you need to know. And the way you know is with Kraft Body Scan and their incredible CT scan. Their technology is available for you. And to celebrate American Heart Month, Kraft Body Scan is offering an exclusive deal for you and your loved one, an exclusive heart and lung scan for $99. This is an almost $3,000 value available to you for the month of February for $99. It's a great opportunity to take a vital step in preventative health care. So make the call. Go online. Find out more about Kraft Body Scan. What an incredible amount of technology goes into these CT scans. I've done it myself, and I can tell you from personal experience, it's great peace of mind, and it's $99. What a great opportunity. 615-436-1000, 436-1000, or craftbodyscan.com. All right, so here's the setup. Bell, are you suspended from the X machine?
Not today.
Have I shown you the picture?
Of what?
I just posted it on the X machine.
Well, I don't have it open. I'll have to.
All right, go open it. I want your reaction to the X machine post, and you can find me on the X machine, as I call it, formerly known as Twitter, at Matt Murphy Show. At Matt Murphy Show. I just posted my view from Saturday night at the Ryman Auditorium. So the wife and I go to the Ryman to see Clint Black, and what a great show. Had a fabulous time. Fun was had by all. Yada, yada, yada. We get there, and by my count, there's maybe out of the entire audience, I don't know how many people the Ryman fits. But out of the entire audience, there's probably 10 people out of all of them with cowboy hats on. And 2 of them are sitting on the row in front of us. One's got his girlfriend there, whatever it is, wife, whatever it might be. And the other's a little down from us, so he's of no consequence. So I went to get drinks for E and I. Glass of wine for her and like a branch water for me. And as I sit back down, I notice the guys in front of her, directly in front of Erica, with that huge cowboy hat on. And she and a woman to her left were already discussing it. And were saying, not in an offensive voice, but in a loud enough voice where the man in front of us could easily hear them, well, obviously he's not going to wear that during the show. And the woman said, well, no, of course he wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to see anything on stage. Right, well, I'm sure that he's going to take it off by the time the show starts.
That guy is a country music super fan, I think, but he's only part-time. He does it on the weekends. So if he takes the hat off, then his bona fides go away.
I guess.
And he's not going to look like a real fan.
I guess. I don't know.
Because that guy is a clown for doing that.
An absolute clown. And that's the way I felt about it. So we wait. The show starts. Nothing. And so I tell Erica loudly, hey, and once again, we're trying to do this loud enough so if he's not aware of the problems that he's causing behind him, he will become aware of it. Because people have become oblivious to other people around them. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, whether it's in your car, at the grocery store, wherever. People are just seemingly oblivious that there are other people on the planet, and they could do just little things to be courteous. Little things to be courteous. I'm not asking for much. And I get it. The guy wants to wear his fancy cowboy hat out to a fancy night out. I mean, it got to the point, Bell, where in the middle of the show, I'm saying, boy, I'm surprised he got all the dust off that hat to be able to wear it inside like this, being a cowboy and all.
This is the kind of thing that it reminds me from the 80s when people would show up to heavy metal concerts in their heavy metal gear thinking they were going to look just as cool as the artist that had thousands of dollars in their budget for stage clothes. It's like, dude, take the hat off. You're not on stage.
So the
I expect
question
Dwight
is,
Yoakam to have a hat on when he's on stage,
That's
not
right.
in the crowd.
That's exactly right. So it was disrespectful. And so I switched with E, and then I had a decision to make. And I'm still debating whether or not I made the right decision. My decision was this. I could look around him. Was it an encumbrance? Yes. But I decided that he already knew that he was disturbing the people behind him.
And clearly didn't care.
So my one approach would have been to tap him on the shoulder and say, I'm sorry. And it would have been easier if E was back there and not me. But I considered Bell tapping him on the shoulder and saying, hey, would you mind taking the hat off during the show? But two things occurred to me. One, if he were a true gentleman, I would never have to ask because he would have already done it. Number two, he's already aware because there had been enough conversation around him. I know that he had heard it. He was already aware that he was causing a problem.
At that point, he's choosing to be an ass.
Exactly. So I knew that if I asked the question, and this was a calculus that I made, I was like, well, I could just deal with it and just enjoy the show and have fun with it and have a fun story to tell on the radio the next day. Or I could say, hey, would you mind taking off your hat? Because the people behind you can't see. And he's going to say no. And at that point, I know enough about me to know that I'm going to want to escalate it by saying something along the lines of, well, some people are just a-holes. And then do I really want to get into a fight in the Ryman Auditorium or whatever, or a verbal altercation? And I don't.
Oh.
What?
That would have been an even better story to tell.
What if I got into a fight?
Yeah.
During the Clint Black show?
Ryman. Let me tell you about the time I got my ass whooped in the Ryman.
I mean, wailing on, hat never moved off his head. Just wailing on me, and the hat's never moving. But it is one of those deals where for a hot minute, I wanted this dude in my life, and then I decided, no, it was not worth it. But people, if you're wearing a big honking, and you can see it, big honking cowboy hat, and you go inside of a building, allow me to help you out. You don't need the hat on inside of a building. And a real gentleman, certainly you're well within your right to wear your hat. But if you're a real cowboy is a gentleman. And a real gentleman would take their hat off. A lot of action from the Members Nutrition Super Text line wanting to know, well, what if he was hearing impaired? That is true. He could have been hearing impaired, I suppose. What if he had a giant fro? That's something I had not considered. Sally says, are there ushers at the Ryman? There are. There were plenty of ushers there. We did not escalate it. I was not going to do that. It's a matter of you either believe that there are other people in this world and you're considerate of those other people, or you're not. And I did not ask an usher to handle it, Suzanne. Maybe I should have it. That's kind of the reason I bring it up, is I kind of lament, then, you miss some of the show. You're dealing with an usher. I mean, the usher knows what time it is, all right? The usher knows that they're inside. The usher knows this guy knows. The usher knows. There's no rules. Just like, this is my expectation when I go to shows like this, and I try not to act old, because there were a couple of people down in the lower bowl there at the Ryman who were standing up. A few women. You know how they stand up during the entire show? Here's my rule, Bell. You've done a lot more concerts than I will ever do in my life. Here's my rule. If I have an and maybe this is thinking wrong, but I don't have any expectation that I have any control over what you do with the space in front of me. Talking about people standing up.
Right.
If I have an assigned seat, if I have a seat number and a row number, then I have an expectation that at some point during the show, I'm going to be able to see without having to stand up.
No.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I have that expectation.
Well, I'm saying you're wrong.
The person in front of me can stand up the entire time.
Yes.
And act like an a-hole the entire time.
They're not acting like an a-hole. It's inherent in the fact that you're going to see a show with energy in it, that you're going to be up and you're going to maybe you want to dance.
So the guy in the cowboy hat's an a-hole, but the stander-upper's not?
Right. Correct. See, you're already figuring it out.
Uh-huh. You're a stander-upper, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Look, this is why this was...
Yeah, my boy back there ain't going to be at a Blink-182 concert sitting down.
Your boy back there is also 4'1". So, damn it, I screwed it up. Let me take two. Your boy back there is 5'3". So, see, I did 4'1". It's too much.
This is too much.
So, one of the reasons that I decided not to escalate the situation at the Ryman was the stand-up question. Because I said, if he was standing up, would I believe that I get it. That's your space. I'm not allowed to make you sit down. It's not a matter of me being allowed to tell him to take off his hat. I would hope that if you're the person that stands up the entire show, that you would be considerate of the fact that you might be keeping grandma from seeing the show behind you. That's all. Josefa said you should have leaned over as close as possible to one of his ears and gave him the loudest karaoke version of the entire concert. I thought about that too. I thought about starting cracking wise about, I did say something about, you know what they say about the size of people's cowboy hats? But there you go. 250 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It was a great show. Clint Black, what a fabulous country music artist. I'd forgotten how good Killin' Time was. What a great show that they always put on at the Ryman Auditorium. It's 250 on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN approaching the 3 o'clock hour where we hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson. You know, I'm thinking about this cowboy hat thing, and if only I knew somebody originally from Texas who knew more about cowboy hats.
Well, I can help you with that.
Hey, Brian.
I have cowboy hats. I don't wear them to concerts, but I wore them to a fox hunt out in horsey country here. And everybody looked at me because they all had these little helmets on. And I felt really goofy, but I wore it proudly and assumed, I just told them, I'm a Texan, I don't know any better.
You wore a cowboy hat to a fox hunt.
Yeah, I was standing out like a sore thumb.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, how tall are you with the cowboy hat on? 6'9"?
Well, I'm 6'4", and so you're at a couple of 2 or 3 inches. You're probably talking 6'7" maybe with the cowboy hat on.
Well, it's the brim. It's the brim that causes the problem.
The guy was not a true cowboy.
Nope.
I mean, because there's a cowboy code. And it is to be tough, but to also be polite. Always be polite. And one of the things they teach you is take your hat off in the house.
That's right.
I mean, you don't wear your hat in the house.
Well,
so
I saw
number one, but I got to say, I think you made a strategic error.
Okay.
You should have just, without being passive aggressive about it, because the guy, once you start talking about the guy, he gets his back up.
Yep.
But if you just tapped him right, hey sir, I just wonder, could you do us a favor? I think that would have been the better approach.
Yeah.
But he's probably bald, and that's probably why.
That's probably.
That's honestly what I was thinking, like Dwight Yoakam.
You can't trust those baldies.
He's all hat and no cattle is what he was.
That's why they call him out there. Well, what is going on the drive this afternoon, Brian? A lot of cattle.
All kinds of stuff. We're going to be talking about the war on cars, the latest in the various legal battles for Donald Trump and those that might be facing Joseph Biden. And then apparently over the weekend, and I'm going to tread into this gingerly, but apparently there were Nazis.
Yep.
And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I just want everybody to know right off the bat as we go into the new show that I don't endorse Nazism on any level, just so that the record is clear on that.
Amen. Well,
but anyway, we'll talk about that and what does it mean and my concerns about that. So it's all straight ahead on the drive.
Looking forward to Brian Wilson's take on these supposed Nazis over the weekend and many, many other things. 3 hours down for me and 4 hours to go with Brian Wilson in the drive. That's coming up right after Mac Maury and the newscast, and that's coming up right now. It's straight up 3 o'clock. Have a great afternoon, folks. Talk to you tomorrow at high noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.